Badovinac took up the position of director during the years of Yugoslav secession. In the 2.5 decades since, she has been a powerful voice from the so-called former East in articulating her position for artists from post-socialist Europe within the contemporary global art infrastructure. In 2006, Badovinac curated the exhibition Interrupted Histories, which we've now all heard about thanks to Eda Çufer, which foregrounded the work of artists from Eastern Europe and, to a lesser extent, the Middle East. And in her accompanying catalog essay, she asked, quote, "What are the implications of the absence of systematic historicization in spaces outside or on the margins of the West? How might the processes of such historicization be accelerated?" Badovinac is amongst a group of curators and artists in Central and Eastern Europe that have actively been working to resituate and inscribe a history of art that accommodates artistic production in countries like the former Yugoslavia into larger art histories, while at the same time maintaining a critical stance towards this process. After all, what is large and what is small is determined by always unequal power relations operating at the level of the global all the way to the hyper-local. It is a question worth pausing on to ask, as Badovinac does warily in Interrupted Histories, quote, "With the globalization of capital comes the globalization of the Western art system. Now, after a decade and a half of this process, we are asking ourselves, just what sort of modernization is this?" It is a refreshing ambivalence. The willingness of Badovinac to look directly at the icky stuff is also reflected in a new essay that appears in a recent volume bringing together 2 decades of her writings, Comradeship, Curating Art and Politics in Post-Socialist Europe. Titled My Post-Catastrophic Glossary and illustrated by Nika von Ham, in the first image, the artist and museum director are sitting casually in front of the ruins of the Moderna Galleria. It is a moment to start from scratch with, quote, "No museums, no careers, no documenta, no Venice, no competition over prestige, no funding, no government, just a bloody fight for survival with no hypocrisy or masquerades." There could be a whole dissertation on the genealogy of the use of the word "no" in art history, and maybe there is. But for me, all these negations conjure the collective Dada manifesto of 1918 and its cluster of the repeated word 999. I have been thinking since 2016 presidential elections that we are living in a Dada moment, where sometimes words are not enough to express what it is we want to say, are insufficient to make amends or articulate our grief, where I fear a whole lot more no's and no mores will be uttered or made material before we get somewhere better. So I think it is fitting and honest that a book called Comradeship and published in 2019 should end with the post-apocalypse. And I think it is also fitting to kick off this weekend's symposium with the site of this metaphorical rubble, as Badovinac writes candidly that the Moderna Galleria has, quote, "confronted its own traumas and complicities, its instrumentalization by capitalism and ideology, its imbrication in hegemonic systems of knowledge," end quote. These are some of the issues I hope we will face head-on in the coming days, through a variety of lenses, reflecting a modality of the sustainable museum that invites diverse constituents, embraces contextualizations, allows for multiple and simultaneous narratives, and reckons with, embraces even, incommensurabilities. So please join me in welcoming Zdenka Badovinac to the stage to get us started on that path.